1. You're lazy. Harsh as this may sound, it's one of the most common reasons why so many people are broke. Most of us prefer using our credit card as opposed to carrying cash around. However, there are some things that'll just require you to use cash. But the thought of walking a couple of blocks to the nearest ATM is just unbearable. You come up with a bunch of excuses for not going out. And each time you use your plastic card, you increase the amount of money you have to pay back at the end of the month. And it's all because you're lazy. You're too lazy to cook, so you order in instead. You don't like to do laundry, so you send it to the cleaners. The only solution to this is to stop being lazy. But it's not an easy thing to do. Otherwise, everyone would be Elon Musk. But one solution is changing your mindset. Maybe the reasons you're sending your clothes to be laundered is because you let them pile up. But if you decide to throw them in the washing machine before they accumulate, it becomes much easier. Resting and being relaxed both physically and mentally is important, but too much of it won't do you any good. You could be one of those people who spend hours binge-watching television or surfing the web or scrolling through social media. And by the way, none of these things impact your finances in a positive way. People with more money choose to spend their free time in more productive ways that helps them improve the situation they're in. And you could do this too. 2. You don't make enough money. Yes, this point is obvious, but what do you do once you acknowledge this fact? Maybe you tried to cut down on some things and tried living on the bare minimum, but you still don't have enough left over. So the only thing left to do is find a way to make more money. There's only so much you can save, but there's no limit to how much you can make. If you work your butt off at work, but still feel like you aren't making enough, try asking for a raise. And if this doesn't work out, it might be time to start looking for a job that'll pay more and where your efforts are recognized. Being broke is stressful and uncomfortable. You aren't able to reach your financial goals. If you make the decision to branch out and do something you love, you could make something out of it. The future is uncertain, and we don't know whether things will work out. But you won't truly know unless you try. You don't have to settle for anything. Why be content when you can be more than satisfied? No one likes being broke. So if you have the opportunity to make a bit more, go for it. 3. Your socializing costs a little too much. How frequently do you go out in a week? Hanging out with friends, going on dates, and meeting coworkers. Eating out can be very expensive, especially if you live in the big cities where everything seems to be overpriced. Eating out is easy, and the meals are usually delicious, but more often than not, quite pricey. Meals usually take up most of people's monthly budgets, so it'd be wise to cut back when it comes to eating out. But keep in mind you can still save money and eat well at the same time. Also keep in mind that not all outings have to involve dinner and drinks. From time to time, consider doing something else, like going for a walk in the park or meeting at a museum, and so on. You could even look up events around your area that are cheap or have free entry. Also, you don't have to go out every time. Other options could be having get-togethers, inviting people over for pizza and drinks. Of course, these things also cost money, but it's highly likely that it'll be cheaper than eating out. Just because something costs less doesn't mean it can't be fun. Most times, people choose the first thing that comes to mind because it's easy or convenient. But the easiest plan isn't always the best way to go. You can find an option with a little bit of effort that's pocket-friendly but fun too. You'll be surprised at how much you can save. And aside from this, you can also experience health benefits by avoiding fast foods and eating healthier meals at home. All you need is a plan in place. 4. You're a slave to the brand. People prefer to buy a particular brand for a number of reasons. It's what you're used to, it's what their friends buy, and it's what their parents used to get, and so on. There are brand names, and then there are generics. The reason why brand names cost more is because you're paying for all the marketing and advertising that went into it, and probably the privilege of actually buying something with a label on it. Most of the times, brand names are almost identical to their generic counterparts. The only noticeable difference is the price tag. In some cases, brand names are superior to their counterparts, but not all the time, so it doesn't always have to be your default choice. Only buy the name brand if you think there's an appreciable difference. Unless you have a good job with a high-paying salary, buying these items can put a huge dent in your finances. 5. You compete with everyone. This next point is closely related to the previous one. Trying to keep up with everyone else doesn't just make you lose focus, but it can really mess up your finances. If you're one of those people who buy things to compete with others, you definitely fit right into the why I'm broke list. When you're trying to impress other people, who probably couldn't care less about how you dress, you overspend and could even end up being deep in debt to maintain it all. If building wealth is what you want, there's a common saying that goes, you're going to have to live like no one else will now, so that later on you can live like no one else can. If you fall into this category, you need to adjust your focus towards your goals. Don't worry about what other people think of you. It's also important to focus on being grateful and content on your journey to wealth. Remember that your competition isn't other people but yourself. 6. You don't plan your spending. For you to successfully deal with any financial obligations, you need to have some kind of plan. Be it paying off debts, investing, saving money, living life, and so on. And for this, you'll need to budget. A budget not only helps you ensure you don't overspend, it also allows you to plan for what you can spend, save, or invest. If money seems to slip easily through your fingers, and you're always left with close to nothing left at the end of the month, the best thing you could do is track your spending and stick close to your budget. Even the wealthiest people have budgets. They might not refer to it as a budget, but they surely have a plan for how they'll spend their money, save, and invest. It's something doable. Simply control your money and assign every dollar a job to do for you. 7. You're disorganized. The cold season is setting in, and you need to trade in your light blanket for the heavy duvet. But when you begin looking for it, you just can't remember where you kept it last time. So, you decide to go to the store and buy a new one. In another scenario, you receive a message notifying you of a late fee for your electricity or phone bill. You are devastated because you swear you paid for it. The thing is, when you're disorganized, life becomes a little bit more expensive. That blanket you were looking for is in the house somewhere, and if only you'd kept it well, you'd have saved yourself money by not going to the store to get a new one. Whenever your mail comes in, you stash them in a drawer somewhere that you hardly look into, and as a result, end up forgetting to pay your bills. What you need to do is pull yourself together and clean your space once in a while. You might be astonished by the stuff you have. You'll feel so much better when you rid yourself of the junk you don't need anymore too. If you'd like, you could set up an automatic bill pay through the bank. But if this isn't for you, you could at least set a reminder on your phone to remind you to pay your bills. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, do me a huge favor and give this video a thumbs up. If you did, thank you so much. And now, let's keep learning. 8. You're too cheap. This may sound surprising, but some people will only resort to buying the cheapest item they find with the intent of saving money. But not long after, it breaks and you have to go back for a new one. Instead of being cheap, be frugal. A frugal person doesn't always choose the cheapest option. Whenever they decide to spend money, they choose the best option they can afford. A lot of people mistake frugalness for being cheap, when the fact is, these people are just making conscious decisions for their personal goals. Being cheap is about taking account of every dollar. Being frugal is about knowing how much you have and spending it according to what you truly value as opposed to what you want. When a person chooses to shop at a cheaper grocery store instead of somewhere more expensive like Whole Foods, doesn't necessarily mean that they're cheap. All it means is that they would rather save money on groceries and use the money for something they value more. The person shopping at Whole Foods maybe is saving money on another aspect of their life. 9. You're drawn to sales. Buying stuff on sale is great. You get to save money, and you get this feeling of accomplishment. People love sales because it makes them feel as though they're saving money. If you stop someone who's come from a sale and you ask them how much they've spent, they can't tell you, but they can swear they've saved quite a lot. The issue with this is that you're spending money on things that you wouldn't normally buy. But there are important questions you should ask yourself before buying. What are you buying exactly? And is it something that you need and will use, or did you just see that it was buy one get one free and jumped at it? Sales are all about your judgment. If you see something you like and you think the price is right, walk away and think about it. If in about an hour's time you're still thinking about it, you can go back and get it. But if you've forgotten all about it, don't. It clearly isn't important enough. 10. You buy as needed. Some people only buy things as the need arises. I'm out of toilet paper, so I'm going to go out and buy a roll. Your favorite lotion just finished, so you go out and buy the small bottle. In the long run, doing this costs more money. Not to mention you have to make several trips to the grocery store, and with every trip there's an inclination to buy something you don't necessarily need. Since you're at the store, you pick up a packet of chips and a can of soda on your way out. The solution to this problem is buying in bulk. Maybe those who are poor aren't able to do this. They only have money to replace things when they run out entirely. But remember, you aren't poor, you're broke. And this is partly because you're spending more buying single items one at a time. Most of the time, buying in bulk saves you a few extra bucks. 11. You don't have an emergency fund. Emergencies may come up at any time, but how prepared are you for it? Your car could break down and you need to do repairs. There's a leak on the roof that needs to be fixed. But since you don't have the money for it, the only option you have is to use your credit card, which only puts you into more debt. If you want to build wealth, you'll have to save. Not some other time, but now. Chances are, if you can't save money, it's unlikely that you'll save when you get paid more money. A lot of people think that you need to make more money in order to start saving, which is not the case at all. When it comes to saving, it's all about forming a habit and being consistent. Your income doesn't have to be a huge sum for you to save. Whatever you can set aside is okay, as long as you're consistent. Those who have a great income make the mistake of thinking they have time and can therefore save later on. The thing is, stuff happens, and job security isn't always guaranteed. Things don't always go as planned. Start by getting an emergency fund and then work towards saving for other goals. Ideally, an emergency fund should have 3 to 6 months of your basic living expenses to cover any unplanned or unexpected circumstances. To quote Mike Todd, being broke is a temporary situation. Being poor is a state of mind. Hopefully, you'll realize what's holding you back and work to free yourself from it. You don't have to be broke forever. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and make sure you hit that subscribe button for more content like this. With that said, have a good one, and I'll see you all in the next one.